I'm really grateful and honored to have a special guest with me. It's Farhana Roslan. Assalamualaikum Farhana. Hi.
Waalaikumsalam. Hi. Thanks for having me on your show, Farisha.
Thank you so much for being in Women Empowerment Series video podcast. And this is a podcast series where I showcase amazing and wonderful ladies in Malaysia. And I'm really honored to have Farhana because I know Farhana from way back from young corporate Malaysian days, right, Farhana? And yeah, we've come a long way. So she's
Yeah,
like my kawan lama back in the day in young corporate Malaysians. And I've known her
maybe
since.
about 7 years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, and with Farhana,
yeah.
she has achieved so much. And this lady right here, Farhana, she's amazing. So we're going to share a bit more about Farhana's journey. Okay, so Farhana, can you tell us more about yourself?
Okay, so I am. First of all, thank you so much, Farisha, for having me, and I'm really honored to be on your show. Actually, I really love efforts like Farisha's, doing daily things and featuring people, everyday regular people, to share our stories. Actually, I'm a very private person, so I'm doing this really for Farisha. But my background is really simple. I come from a boarding school,
Mm-hmm.
and Alhamdulillah, my grades were okay, and that took me to the UK for my first degree, which was in accounting and finance. And since this is about a little bit about career paths and what people what we do in our lives, I would share that. So I was a very avid. I had a lot of interest in investment banking back in those days in 2010, where investment banking was still a very considered a very sexy industry to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But that was also when the great financial crisis and what we call now the Great Recession happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so much of the Western world, including the UK, the US, suffered from what started out as a credit crunch because of the subprime mortgage crisis. And then that evolved and had ripple effects into the economy, into the real economy and the financial sector. And so that actually brought me home back to Malaysia to my sponsors, which is Pemodalan Nasional Berhad. And lesson number one in my life was that never judge a book by its cover, and we don't know where things will might end up, and so always have a positive outlook in life and approach things. Take the bull by its horns, people say, and so I embraced my career, my first real career outside of the UK, back here home in Malaysia, and serving my scholarship bond for Pemodalan Nasional Berhad. I spent about 6 to 7 years in financial analysis, and I basically was full blown into corporate finance. But I guess what I'm here today is not because of that. Why I'm here today is because of the career juncture, the shift in career that I had to undertake. I wouldn't say I had to. It was actually a choice. It was a choice that I took after a long time of thinking and deliberating, and actually building up the momentum towards it. And it was actually somewhere between 2012 and 2013
Mm-hmm.
that I first was dabbled into what brought me into this career today, which is in public policy um, and government and governance. And so that was the first time that I actually realized that Malaysians have a very low, most Malaysians have very low income actually in terms of household income. And today we are very familiar with the jargon B40, T20, M40, right? Middle income M40, bottom 40, B40. What that really means is that the income levels of those people are actually the 40% lowest income levels. And when I worked actually for a United Nations agency at the time, I saw that for the first time, and I realized that there was more that I wanted to do other than finance, and it provided me sufficient interest. It sparked a sufficient interest in me, rather than making it just a side project where I volunteered in flat areas where I saw children who lived there, and and helped out during in many of my projects. I thought I wanted to join into policy making sphere myself because I could, and I had the ability and I had the capacity to do that. And of course, that is actually 7 years late. A lot of people graduate out of university knowing that they want to join the government or join the public policy think tank space, right?
Yeah.
But I started out as an accounting finance graduate, and so we'll talk about this later, I guess. But this is my background. I am someone who changed my career very late, sort of quite late in my career, not within the same organization, but out of my own interest. I searched and I slowly learned how to find the right places and the right people to go and talk to, and here I am today as a master student midway. Unfortunately, during the COVID-19 situation, which is a very interesting situation, but alhamdulillah, here I am today as a second year student at the Harvard Kennedy School, which is the government school for Harvard University as a master student in public
Alhamdulillah.
policy.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. And as a friend, I'm really, happy for you to be sponsored by PNB to enter one of the
Again,
prestigious
yeah.
school in the US, Harvard Kennedy School of Governance. Wow, that's like truly amazing, very amazing and inspiring.
It actually started off with a dream. I actually had some friends who actually went there, and at the time when you were working a full-time job in a alhamdulillah, it was a very good job. It was very fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
It provided me the all the basis that I needed to delve into this new career path, right? But at that time, it felt quite impossible. We didn't. I just didn't know how to start, even begin. Right? So how did it start? I just dreamt. I just thought, wow, someday I want to go to Harvard. I just
Yeah,
said
like
that.
wow,
This
yeah,
was 4 years ago. Yeah, and nobody goes there. So I
yeah.
mean, now alhamdulillah, we have two young Malaysians who were admitted into Harvard, the
Mm-hmm.
undergraduate college, a
Mm-hmm.
very prestigious place to be, and as an undergraduate, even more so. Um, but at the time, to me, it was one of my wildest dreams. I'll be very honest.
Yeah, and it's
But
amazing
they
because
did
you
start
go
with
for
just
your dream. Yeah.
yeah. But at the time, I really didn't know how to get there. There was nothing on my CV. There was nothing on my um, I had nothing, no credible way to get there through even the funding and even the qualifications. It was such a far-fetched dream. Yeah, but I remember just thinking about it, just thinking that I want to go to Harvard. And so, and when you have that, sometimes your brain starts working in, subtly, consciously at the back of your mind. You'll start thinking of things in ways that will sort of take you there indirectly.
Yes.
You don't know how it will look like. You don't know how and when it will happen, but sometimes you just direct and move your life that way when you have that dream. So I'm not that much of a dreamer. Actually, I never was. I've always been the practical person. I go after my dreams. I'm a very hard worker. I work very hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I find out, and I research, but I've never been the kind to dream big, how entrepreneurs. I've always admired entrepreneurs, people like yourself, especially Raisha, people in business who have dreams, and they have targets. They set high targets. This was one of my wildest and highest targets I've ever set for
Visionary.
myself,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess when you visualize it, you manifest and you visualize it in your mind. I think that's what
Yeah,
get you started to like, wow, I want to go to Harvard,
yeah,
I want to go to Harvard. I want to enter the
yeah,
Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And you visualize it in your mind. And from a
yeah,
dream, it becomes a reality.
yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously it's God's
Yeah.
work. Allah,
Yeah.
God put me here somehow, somewhere. Not directly. It took years. But it started with a dream. So I guess I never really thought I would say this in a public sort of but to quote quotes. But this quote, "Dare to dream," is actually it's actually quite real. So like you don't have to share it with people. You don't have to share those quotes. You just
Mm-hmm.
embody it within yourself, and um, you know um, envision it, and spiritualize it within yourself, and it might actually work. So
Mm-hmm.
it's one of my bestest friends, one of my good friends, Nadia
Mm-hmm.
Monira would say that, dreaming is free. That you don't cost you nothing. So why not?
Yeah, you just have to go for it, right? Just go for it. Go for your dreams.
Yeah,
Okay, and moving
yeah.
on to the next question. What does woman empowerment means to you?
Okay, so I'm in a position to say that these days, now, because I'm in my sort of early 30s. I've lived, quite about, a decade of adulthood, after graduation, of your undergraduate degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm in a better position to have an opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
And also I would say that my views are largely shaped by my mentors. I have very many mentors that I
Mm-hmm.
look up to in my life.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is someone we met during the YCM days, Natasha Kamaluddin. But I have mentors,
Mm-hmm.
in my career as a woman, male and female mentors,
Mm-hmm.
mentors in my specific fields, mentors from my workplace. And out of all these experiences, and talking to them and engaging them,
Mm-hmm.
I think, empowerment means, three things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Number one, it's knowing yourself. And I would say now that I'm still in that, and I'm still in that process, of knowing yourself. Sometimes we live in this, in this world that we live in today. There's a lot of peer pressure, not just peer pressure, but like just pressure, and the pressure is being expanded through social media.
Yeah.
There's the need to look a certain way and to present yourself a certain way
Mm-hmm.
among your friends, and that has existed since aeons. Like a lot people in the previous centuries also have
Mm-hmm.
had, your social circles that they have to present themselves in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's being enhanced because then you now have to be seen a certain way on social media,
Yes.
and be known a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're so busy presenting yourself a certain way, you forget to find out who you really are. And I've had to learn that, very hard way, through my relationships, through my relationship with my parents, my relationship with my bosses, and through my work, and through the way we handle stress at work, the way we handle things, the way we handle problems, the way we handle opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you need to spend some time, in your last in you know in your adulthood, maybe
Mm-hmm.
once every decade, maybe once every five years, now that, things are, cycles are quicker, these days,
Yeah.
um, to really figure out like what you're about. What are your principles, what are your philosophies, as a is in your religion, like what's your position in your religion,
Mm-hmm.
as a Malaysian, as a citizen of a country, what's your position, what's your
Mm-hmm.
position about, in politics. Have a side, have a view. They can change, but when you know what your positions are in these things, then you probably figure out who you are, and then you can figure out what you can do. Because Gen Y, Gen X, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
not Gen X, but we're all, Gen Ys
Gen
and above,
Ys.
right?
Yeah.
um Gen Ys, like Gen
Millennials.
Y is actually
Yeah.
all, yeah, and millennials, and
Yeah.
Gen Alphas, and then whatever that comes after. Things that matter to us most is no longer, basic things like economic stability or like
Mm-hmm.
money.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are in our generations. It takes self-actualization. If you're familiar with the Maslow's hierarchy
Right.
of needs,
Yes.
it takes
Mm-hmm.
self-actualization. It takes you to be comfortable with knowing who you are,
Mm-hmm.
for you to feel fulfilled. You need to be doing something that you feel like, that doesn't just earn money, or
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't just give you what you want, but
Mm-hmm.
also it gives you
A
the
purpose.
the,
Something with a
uh,
purpose.
the fulfillment,
Yeah.
like a purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So a lot of people are now looking for, doesn't matter what it is, but it's only when you get that you will feel fulfilled
Yes.
as a woman, as a human being, as a person,
Mm-hmm.
living in today's age, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, you definitely need to know yourself. So, number two, empowerment is when you are clear with your identity. And this is what, I was talking to a youth group earlier, and I say the same thing. When you know yourself, you can relate it to your identity. What is identity? Identity
Yeah.
is when you you you're not too confused with your place in this world. Of course, everyone goes through that process, right?
Yeah.
People get confused, but once you found, once you know yourself, and it's a continuous process, and you keep revising your views and your positions. Um, Knowing your identity allows you two things. Number one, it allows you to be rooted in what you are about and where you come from. So you don't feel so confused about being changing yourself every time you see something that excites you or something you see bright lights. But what it also does is also to have compassion over others. Having your identity doesn't mean other people's identities are wrong. Once you're so sure of your identity, then you'll be able to be more compassionate about others, and accept differences and accept different views, right? It's only when you're not so sure about yourself that other people's view make you fearful, make you feel like you're losing a grasp, losing touch. And I am making inroads into politics here, but if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in Malaysia, especially the majority of us, I think that once you are very clear of your identity, grab hold of it. To feel empowered, you have to grab hold of your identity, be sure of who you are. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have economic stability for you to feel like you are sure of who you are. You don't have to have a stable home, or those things are what we always want to look for. But once you, I guess what I'm trying to say is that with being sure of who you are will make you more acceptable of others' views, others' positions, and just the existence of other people around you. And number three, finally, I think empowerment means that you're out there doing things, right? You can be very comfortable. You can be in a very good economic position. You can be very sure of who you are, but you may not feel that empowered if you don't if you don't feel like you have something to contribute into this world. And how do you get that? You definitely have to learn. Learning, as you know, like learning is a lifelong journey. And everything, you need to learn about everything. You need to learn about how to be a good wife. You need to learn about how to be a good parent. You need to learn how to be a good worker. You need to learn mathematics. You need to learn science. You need to learn stuff that you learned back in school. You need to learn how to be a good citizen, right? You need to learn how to vote. You need to learn your rights if you are being caught speaking, or if you're being caught, say if you're exercising your freedom of speech online, right? And then people you get caught from the police and say that you're violating some law. You need to know your rights, and that you need to learn. So once you learn, you will know you will know then what you can contribute into this world. Nobody is out there existing just for the sake of being in existence. Everyone is created with a purpose.
Yes.
Even if your purpose is to take care of your children and raise amazing children, that's fine. If your purpose is to open a business and make a very prosperous company and then to donate to others, that seems big. Fine. If your purpose is just to teach, it's not just. I regret saying that. Actually, it's to teach children, right?
Yes.
From school, and then year in year out, all you do is teach children, and that's your purpose. It doesn't matter. But what it is that if once you learn, you know more, and you find your passion, then you're able to contribute. So if you hear TED Talks, they keep saying that follow your passion. Well, you won't know your passion until you learn what's out there. And then you learn more and more. People tend to feel passionate about things when they start realizing, oh hey, I'm pretty good at this, right? And so if you keep doing something that's you're not really good at, it's very hard to build a passion on it, right? And so follow your passion, but that's actually step 2. Step 1 is actually to learn. And then once you follow your passion, then you feel empowered. You get up every day and do it. Something like you don't have to do this. You don't have to interview 100 women and speak about women empowerment and what empowers you. Empowers
the
you
purpose.
is that you feel like you're the purpose. And then you feel like, hey, you had to learn how to do this. You had to learn how to edit videos. You had to learn how to speak. You had to learn how to network and use LinkedIn, to the maximize potential. Even using social media, Facebook for selling, LinkedIn for networking, you have to learn. So I guess
It's a skill.
that's all I have to say
Yeah.
about empowerment. And
Yeah.
exactly. So I think I'm still learning. Every day I'm learning from my mentors. And if anyone wants to start on this journey of feeling empowered and kind of wanting to do something more, don't think about making a big change. Don't think about, oh, I have to change my life and I have to do something big.
Yeah.
Just
You can start
start small
small.
and say like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
start small and say and think, like, oh, what can I start learning today? Who can I start reaching out to? Who can I start talking to? Who is
Mm-hmm.
there a boss that I kind of like the way she or he does
The
navigates his
leadership.
or her life,
Yeah.
and probably
Mm-hmm.
can learn a thing or two.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So good leaders don't have to be on the stage all the time. They can be just regular people in your office every day, and you feel like, hey, I like this guy and I want to learn more from him. You don't have to have 100 people liking him. As long as you like him and you want to sort of emulate what some of the good things that he or she is doing, then
Yes.
that's your journey right there to start.
Okay, and now moving to the next question. Who are the most inspirational women leaders that you admire in Malaysia and also internationally?
Okay, so there's the people who I admire. I go to them and talk to them, and I get myself near them. And I will start with the one that comes topmost of my mind in Malaysia, and her name is actually Professor Datuk Dr. Harlina Siraj. She's actually the chairman or the president of the Pusat Citra UKM, which is
Mm-hmm.
the liberal arts, a new liberal arts outfit under University Kebangsaan Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
She's been my mentor for a couple of years now, and I've actively sort of pursued her mentorship because I like the way she thinks, she reads, she communicates with people, um, and how she manages her career and her family life. So Dr. Halina, I call her Dr. Halina, but she's actually now Professor Dr. Halina Siraj. She is not someone from my career path. I want to be an economist or social scientist. Or she's actually a doctor. She's a consultant, gynecologist, and I don't know the term, consultant, gyne, women's, a specialist for women's health, right?
ONG,
Gynecologist.
obstetric and
Um,
gynecologist. Yeah.
ONG, like
Yeah,
obstetrician.
ONG.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Yeah.
Lina. Don't. Sorry for getting your title wrong. So she's not in the same line as me. She's a doctor. She's a true blue activist
Mm-hmm.
in IKRAM, which is one of the largest Islamic movements in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a member.
Mm-hmm.
What else? She's a mother of three. She's a
Mm-hmm.
lecturer. I'm not a mother yet, and neither am I in academia. But there's just a lot of words of wisdom that she shares with us, with me and her mentees every day.
Mm-hmm.
That it has really shaped the way I think about society, the way I think about interethnic relations, the way I think about Islam, the way I
Mm-hmm.
think about women and what empowerment means. I'm very, because of her, thanks to her, I'm pretty clear about where my position is as a woman, as a Muslim woman
Mm-hmm.
in Malaysia, I'm very clear about what I agree with, what I don't agree with,
Mm-hmm.
and thanks to her because of that. And I guess you can definitely find her on Facebook and reach out to her. And definitely, we I should definitely have more events with her to feature her to the rest, to women out there. Um, um, yeah. What do I like most about her? So I'll tell you why I really like her. And I have to make this short, I know. But when I first came back, I actually went to a huge Islamic conference, right? So you expect certain things when you come to an Islamic conference, a religious speech. But there's this ustazah who came up and uh, firstly flashed out on the big slide in an Islamic conference
Mm-hmm.
about sexual reproductive health
Mm-hmm.
and about teenage pregnancy and
Mm-hmm.
the social implications of it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, who is this ustazah, right? I've never heard an ustazah speak like this.
Yeah.
Someone who's data driven, someone who's speaking out of experience, and someone who's really passionate about what she's doing. And she looks like the Ustazah. She doesn't look like like the typical feminist that you would see, nor does she look like a very unempowered submissive Muslim uh, lady. So I that it's a huge balance that that I look for in a mentor, that I look for an inspiration. And so she's one of the closest things that you can find here in Malaysia, and she's such a gem. Alhamdulillah for being introduced to her. So internationally,
Yeah.
I struggled with that question actually. I was talking to you earlier about like who's really my international, because you never really know or get really close to anyone, or in that international sphere. But recently, earlier this year, Tawakkul Karaman, which is the Nobel laureate prize winner from Yemen, which is a Yemen freedom fighter. You may have opinions about her, but she was a Nobel laureate winner in 2011.
Yeah.
And I knew of her. I never really knew her, but we had a quiet conversation with some of us in a closed door conversation back in Harvard Kennedy School earlier this year. And one of the things that she said to me that was really really inspiring, I feel, is that people ask her, you're a mother, how are you doing, how is it that you are able to like take people, like drive drones of Yemenis onto the streets to fight for a revolution. We're talking about revolution. A revolution is massive. Like, it goes in history books. It's not an online movement. It's not a it's not a society. Not that any of these are bad, but she drove a revolution, and revolution makes people come on the street every day demanding for freedom, demanding for peace, from authoritarian and this bad leaders, basically. And this means that she's a woman of politics. She's a woman of leadership. She's a woman of strength, and she's a mother. And she said, well, I learn from my children. It's not that I'm having to give them time every day. They're the ones who's giving their time to me, and they're the ones who's teaching me every day. And so it'll be so it'll be so so pompous of me, I'm rephrasing, of course, pompous of me to think that I'm the one who's teaching them and always having to teach them. They're teaching me every day. And just that rephrasing and like rethinking of perspectives, right? The way she thinks of everything as she just flips everything, makes everything look so positive, and then so able, and that's the sign of a woman who's truly empowered, I feel. And so I think in this theme today that we're talking about empowerment, and I think Tawakkul Karaman is definitely one of my most recent and additions to my sort of idols. I've never really had one, but she's definitely there top of the list. I should share also a story with you. She had a guy who had an axe chasing after her when she was walking home one night after one of her rallies, one of the most powerful speech that she got up and spoke to like hundreds of thousands of Yemenis on the street. And a guy was coming with her an axe, and then she said, go if you want to axe me. She said, hit me with the axe. And the guy and dropped the axe. So it's his revolution, and that gave me chills. That's just really what kind of suffering must she has gone through,
and she's very
that much power,
brave to go through that.
Brave, like that's it. Like you in the face of fear, people can do two things. They either cower and feel very, very unempowered and do not go up, or they feel even more emboldened and empowered. And so which one will you be, I guess?
Oh wow, okay, that is an amazing story. And the fact that she is very brave and bold, and to know that, like, for us,
as people, we want to
for women and
for people,
girls,
we look after people who's
so that we can also be brave and bold to make a decision in our life, and to be prepared to what's coming ahead of us. And life is full of challenges. We don't know what's going to happen next, So I guess from your story, from your woman idol story, the way that you describe her and her journey that she has to go through, that takes courage, you know, and then also bravery and also the wisdom to go through whatever it is in life that come throwing at you.
Exactly. And every one of us will have those challenges. It may not be a
Yes.
revolution,
Mm-hmm.
and you're asked to make that very big, bold decision
Mm-hmm.
in your life.
Okay. Okay, and moving on to the next question. What would be your advice to the young girls, young ladies out there?
Okay, so you asked me what empowerment meant, right? And I definitely would say that knowing yourself and your identity is the one huge part of it. I've spoken about this a few times. Um, Again, identity is something that people. It's very hard. Let me give you an example. We're facing an unprecedented migration crisis in this world
Yeah.
today. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are being taken out of their homes, their families, their societies, familiarity, and being put into a society that's very different from your own. We're
Mm-hmm.
mainly talking about people like maybe the Middle Eastern, maybe Syria and Palestine,
Yeah.
having to move to
Mm-hmm.
the West and living in an
Mm-hmm.
area and places and trying to acclimatize into something that's very totally different from what they're used to. And also we have stateless people, refugees, people
Yeah.
who did not want to be, did not want to relocate and uproot themselves from themselves, and being asked to sort of stay in places that they didn't want to, places that they don't know, places where there's already other people living other lives,
Mm-hmm.
and never having, not having the passport, not having an identity. So living abroad, this time around, reminds me again how much it is such a privilege for us to
Yeah.
have that citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
which Malaysia might not be the biggest, strongest, most powerful economically and military country in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but push comes to shove, I get to say I'm a Malaysian citizen. This is my passport, and whatever happens,
Yeah.
my government's gonna come and save me.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID, if anything, should remind us of that. This is not to say that Malaysia is perfect and there's nothing to do, and we I'm being too easy. No,
Mm-hmm.
but just coming back to identity, and this is one of my big reflections in the past year,
Yeah.
is
Mm-hmm.
to have a citizenship, to have a family, to have an identity. Even
Yes.
if I was a minority in the
Yes.
US
Mm-hmm.
wearing a hijab,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very hard to live, to be taken seriously. But at least I know who I am. At
Yeah.
least I'm not in the middle of nowhere. At least I'm not halfway from knowing what religion I am and what race
Mm-hmm.
I am and what citizenship I am. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you can't have, you can't pursue a different citizenship. If you prefer philosophically, for example, I know some British people who have been very disappointed with the Brexit decision and kind of now don't want to be a British citizen and want to be, a different citizen out of,
Yeah.
principle, out of philosophy, and that's fine, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But at least knowing who you are and where you come from and your roots and your citizenship and your passport and citizenship, right? You're not
Mm-hmm.
stateless. Just having that is such a huge privilege, right? And that contributes a lot to your identity, compared to people who have been forced out of their homes,
Yeah.
and then they have
Mm-hmm.
to grapple with being German but also Turkish, being French but also Algerian, being
Yeah.
British but also Syrian, and being Canadian but also Syrian. It's very difficult,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Yeah.
try and if you're not in that position, if you're in that position, you have a lot of work to do, and that you're also a very rich person in a cultural
Mm-hmm.
sense. But if you're like me, most Malaysians who have pretty decided, like, be proud of it. don't be proud of it in a blinded sense, but
Yeah.
know where your place is, know what are sort of the things that you need to do as a Malaysian for Malaysia. But
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate the privilege of having such a clear identity for yourself. And once you're comfortable with yourself, as I said again earlier,
Yeah.
then you'll have no problems with other people. You'll have no problems
Mm-hmm.
if someone else wants to be politically. You also be very stable and very confident in yourself, and you don't have a problem with someone else wants to practice their religion around you.
Yeah.
That doesn't change you,
Yeah.
right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's the same with women, right? So if you're working with other women, knowing yourself is also knowing your identity, is also knowing your strength,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what you can contribute, and you don't have to feel so insecure about not being able to be good at B because you're good at A anyway. And so let
Mm-hmm.
me bring A to the table, and someone else can bring B to the table, and then we'll all have A, B, and C, and D, and E to the table.
Yes.
So that is definitely something that I implore all young women out there, um, who are still figuring things out. And
Yeah.
because we live now in a global monoculture, as
Mm-hmm.
my one of my teachers would say. Global monoculture means there's only one culture now, which is individualism. Everyone's just thinking about themselves, right? There's no more
Mm-hmm.
like that culture, Western culture, Eastern culture. Everyone now is in one huge global monoculture. And right, just when you know where you come from, when you embrace your own culture, your original cultures,
Mm-hmm.
then you won't find the difference as such a problem, right? And like this big buzzword, diversity is actually something to be celebrated. But why? Because when everyone's so comfortable with themselves, that diversity can come together and actually be fruitful instead of problem, right? And so from that on, I would say that my second sort of most this kind of the thing that I've learned in the past decade would be to never take a shortcut in empower um in equipping yourself. Earlier, the theme
Yeah.
of don't think that you can get by talking or by presenting yourself a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shortcut to the core learning. So definitely equip yourself. So if you're still young, out of university,
Yes.
take on the skills and whatever it is about your bosses are asking you to do. Take it
Mm-hmm.
on and try and learn and do it. It's okay if you don't like it. It's fine. I've definitely had that challenge in my career where I spent a really good 6-7 years in my career liking what I did, and then having to do something that I don't really like in a team, in a lovely team, but it's just the work that I didn't really like.
Yeah.
And so, what I decided to do with that was also a challenge, right? So if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
place where you really like,
Mm-hmm.
definitely honing on that skills. Spend 70% of your time doing something you're good at and something you can produce, and doing 30%, spend 30% of your time doing something that will scare you, something that's out of your box, something that doesn't really you're not that good at, right? But then you kind of want to challenge yourself, because you need
Yeah.
a little balance of you need 70% of self assurance that okay, I'm good at
Yeah. Take risks.
this, and then
Yeah.
30% like, oh, I'm not so good at it, but I want to take a little bit of a risk, because otherwise if you're just doing something that you're totally good at 100%, life will be
Yeah.
such a monotone.
Yeah.
And then but also again, like trying to just really learn as much as you can at any point of time, and just gaining true skills and real hard skills, like I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
everything from statistics to
Yeah.
web designing to podcast editing to writing to anything, right? Like just pick those skills up, practice, get your hands dirty, get your feet wet into
Yeah.
doing it, and then it will pay off the dividends later on in life. Good luck.
Yes. Yes, and take the risks, right, Farhana? Take the risks and explore and learn as
Definitely.
much as you can.
Yes. If you can't go this way, try another way. If you can't go that way, try another way. Sometimes life is harder and easier in certain things, and harder in certain other things. And always know what's your true north, and who is it that you live
Mhm.
for.
Yeah.
In a religious sense or in a familial sense. But yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Like I said, take the bull by its horns, and yeah. And also,
Yes.
please, women. So one thing women don't know how to do is to rest. So please have some rest
Yeah.
to have
I
some
need I need to
recreation and
rest
rest.
after
And
this.
yeah, sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we need to rest and relax and unwind as well. Yeah, and how I rest
Yeah,
is
definitely know how to do
I
that.
I exercise or read a good book in the weekend with a cup of coffee, read a book, just chill at my
Mhm.
sofa or go
Good
out
things
for
in
a
life.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for a walk at the park.
Yeah.
You know, it's the simple things, and you can just relax, chill, and
Yeah.
unwind, and then escape the Monday to Friday working life, and Saturday, Sunday just chill. Yeah, simple things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
reading a
Yeah.
book
Take care of your
while
health too. Yeah.
reading a book while sipping on a coffee and eating chocolate chips. Simple things in life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to find that now that we can't travel so much with COVID,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I'm glad
Yeah.
with technology, with Zoom, I can communicate and I can chat with you. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
with modern
Yeah.
technology and with Zoom, it brings us closer. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, and Farhana, we have almost come to the end of the show, Woman Empowerment Series. Okay, do you have any other advice that you would like to share with our viewers today?
Mm, I've said all that I can. But little practical advice. So if I know some people have asked whether how did you get in?
Yeah,
I would say that there's definitely a lot of work. It starts with a dream.
yeah.
So sorry to end with this, but let's talk about how to get into Harvard. And I want more and more Malaysians to do that.
Yes.
So so if you're like me and think,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, I didn't make it in my degree, it would have been great if I actually got into Harvard in my degree. A lot of us
Yeah.
didn't even dream that big
Mm-hmm.
that early on in life, right? If you're not that privileged to know about going overseas or going abroad or studying, it's okay. There's definitely other future parts of your life in your PhD or your master's that you can,
Masters. Yeah.
if you want to do, yeah. So definitely you have to research if Harvard is the best school for what you want to study. Sometimes Harvard is not. There are other really really good schools outside and cheaper of course as well.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely grades is not everything. I've known people who are able to enter with slightly
Yeah.
uh, less than stellar grades because they really just want to know who you are as a person and
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to be a great addition to the class, right? And so I would say that definitely research a lot on the blogs.
Mm-hmm.
What are people talking about and how what are the tips to get into an Ivy League school, how to write, and most importantly, you have to know who those people who have been to Harvard are in Malaysia. And
Mm-hmm.
I have definitely been a beneficiary of that. A lot of the alumni in Malaysia have helped me a lot. I was connected to them, and they are
Yeah.
the most outstanding group of that I've met, and they're most very very helpful, very generous, and very very friendly bunch. So if anyone is thinking about it as a career sidetrack, as a career break, definitely reach out to me and also the Harvard alumni group, and I will be more than happy to support you in your journey of education.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much, Farhana, for sharing your story, sharing your career journey, and how you get into
Mhm.
Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and with the sponsorship by Pemodalan Nasional Berhad, and sharing your amazing tips. And I hope
Alhamdulillah for
that
that. Yeah, there's
all of
also
you,
amazing
yeah.
women behind in PNB as well that have supported me to this journey. I must mention them.
And who are the amazing women supporting you in PNB?
So there are my bosses, Puan
Mm-hmm.
Aida,
Mm-hmm.
DPK,
Mm-hmm.
Kak Zura,
Okay.
Kak An, Puan Amiza, and yeah, basically a lot of those women who have supported me in
Yes, and it's amazing, like a woman supporting each other. Yes, so this is what we want to do in this show. We want to spread the positive vibes, spread the awareness for more women and girls to step outside of their comfort zone and reach their fullest potential. Okay, and for
inshallah,
those of you
inshallah.
who would like to follow Farhana
Thank you
online,
for doing this, Farisha.
you're most welcome. And for those of you who would like to follow Farhana online, what is your Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, so that if there's people who want to ask you for advice or any tips, what is your Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn account so they can connect with you online?
Okay, so do connect to me on Facebook or LinkedIn. My Twitter and my Instagram are private accounts only for closest friends. But just reach out to me on LinkedIn at Farhana
Mm-hmm.
Roslan. You'll find me a picture of me with the Arabic Kennedy School logo.
Yeah. Okay. I really like the shirt. Yeah. Can you show the logo?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh
yeah. This is a free shirt.
wow. Harvard
Yeah,
Kennedy School,
I
School of
I
Government.
wore this.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I got it for free during the year.
Wow. So we want to see more Malaysians. We want to see more Malaysian entering Harvard School, yeah? And making their mark. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and for those of you who are watching
Inshallah.
this, and I hope that you guys are inspired, motivated, and inspired by Farhana sharing today. And for those of you who would like to connect with her, you can connect with her on her social media. Till then, stay safe, take care, bye. Bye, Farhana.
Bye. Thanks, Aisha. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Assalamualaikum.